Hey everybody, hope you're doing great today. This is Paul from This Way to the Aquarium, and in today's video I want to talk about a new light that I just purchased for this tank over here. It's a 20-gallon tank that I've got a breeding pair of Juliochromis in there. And so one day I came down, and normally the lights turn on via timer. So I came down to see the lights weren't on this tank. So not sure what it was. I pulled a light off, plugged it in separately, plugged it in elsewhere, and for whatever reason it wasn't turning on. This is the light right here. I've got a number of these that are on different tanks, basically the same brand. Some are the same size, some are different sizes. But the nice thing about this too is that they've got a separate control unit over here. It's actually unpluggable, so you can plug it, so you can remove this from the wall plug. So I was able to test it out with some of the other lights. You basically just unplug from their base and plug it in there just to make sure it wasn't the power source, but still wasn't working at the time. So what I ended up doing is purchasing another light from Temu. Since this light was bad, obviously I didn't want to get the same one. I wanted to go find something a little more cost-effective, so I shopped around Temu and found a light that I'm going to unbox right now. It's from a brand named Vevor, which I've not seen before, but since I've purchased that one, I've seen that they're kind of a multinational conglomerate making different products, and aquarium lights happens to be one of them. Just a note, this is not a sponsored video. Nobody's paying me for this. I purchased that light with my own money. So let's take a look at the tank over here and see what I did in the interim while that light was down. So this is the tank right here. The reason why it's got algae on the front of it is the Juliochromis enjoy eating the algae. So especially since they're a breeding pair of fish in there, it allows the fry to come in and munch on the algae. That way I don't have to feed them as consistently. So anyways, that light went bad. As you can see, I've got a replacement light over here. It's actually a smaller light, which I had actually pulled from this 10-gallon over here. There's no fish in this tank, just one plant. It's kind of a tank in planning in progress. Still trying to figure out what I want to do with it. But it was easy enough for me to pop it up, put it on top of this tank over here. That way the fish have a light cycle, basically a day-night cycle. So this is also purchased from Temu. It was actually a pretty good deal. I think it was like $10. So it works pretty well. As you can see, this is originally labeled as suitable for a 10-gallon tank, which this is a 10-gallon tank down here. Obviously I wanted to get a replacement light that is more suited towards a 20-gallon long, and so that's the one we're going to go unbox here shortly. So the only difference between this light and some of the other lights that I have is these other lights have an 8-hour cycle. I believe it's an 8-hour, 10-hour, and 12-hour cycle, so I keep my tanks on 8. Whereas this Temu light starts, I believe, at a 9-hour, then 10-hour, then 12-hour. So with the 9-hour, most of the other tanks are off. This one stays on for an extra hour longer. Not a big deal. Since I have this on there, it wasn't a big rush for me to buy a new light. I purchased the one, came just a few days ago, so let's go open it up, take a look at it, see how it compares to my other lights, and then get it mounted here and go from there. So typically I use Amazon for more of my purchases. Sometimes I will buy from local fish stores, depending on what I'm purchasing. Usually to get more cost effective with the lighting and stuff, it's either a big box pet store who's got a coupon available, or online. So overall, in terms of price, this was actually about $5-6 cheaper than that other particular light. Not mentioning any brands on the other one. But as you can see, this one actually has a digital controller over here. Looks like you can adjust the color profiles. It's got a manual setting, as well as it's got timer functions as well too. Comes with instruction manuals over here. Comes with the tank mounts that you can offset it off the tank. So I usually install these, and I've got them installed on a few of my lights, and on a few other tanks I do not have them installed. No real reason why, just trial. Here's the power brick. So let's get this fully unwrapped, plugged in, and then see how it works. I like that it has a nice long cord. Looks like it's about 5-6 feet. Okay there. Pretty bright. It is adjustable, so I'm adjusting it downward now. Changing the different color profiles. It's green, blue or white. Looks like a purple or blue. Kind of a pink or purple. And there's all the lights on. Let's crank it up again. Yeah, the lights are on full now. I can't look at it directly. Let's turn it off. So I'll take a look at the manual over here and then get the process of setting it up and putting it on the tank. So the control unit does have a battery backup, which is this little port right here. It's got a little hanging place if you want to put a screw or a nail in the wall, and it hangs up and then you can see it. The instructions do state that there was a battery included in the package. I looked, I couldn't find anything, so I don't have any. I have to double check if I have any of the batteries they specify in the instructions. It does have a default mode, which basically is just on and off. Turns on at a certain time, turns off at a certain time, and the light intensity just depends. It's fixed, so whatever you set it at, it's going to turn on that light intensity. So if you set it at 60%, it's going to turn on right away. It's going to turn at 60%, and then turn off time is also 60%. It does have a manual mode too, they mention, like this DIY mode, L1, L2, L3. So basically with that, you can adjust the percentages of the light intensity. So let's say you want to start up in the morning at L1 at 10%, and then ramp up to 20-30%, and then your high, whatever and whatever the most you want. So that would come around, L3 or L4. That would be when you set up the max intensity that you want. In my case, I usually don't go with 100% on my lights, because then you do run into algae issues. So I'll probably do 60 or 70%. I'll have to see how the light looks. Got a long enough cord, as I mentioned. Right now I've got to work on some of the electrical in this basement over here. Basically just get some things moved, because this is at the furthest end. And the outlet is over on this side over here. There's a plug strip underneath this tank over here. So I just need to route it and back. Right now I'll probably just do it quickly with a extension cord, just to get it up and running while I make some adjustments in terms of the power in this room. So just to recap, in terms of the brightness, I think the light does pretty well. It's got some adjustability in there, so you can really crank it up if need be. In this case, being a 20-gallon long, it's not a tall tank, so I don't need it cranked up that high. So it seems to be illuminating it pretty well. Couple of issues that I saw: the screen on the control panel, the readout, the LCD screen, is not that easy to see. You got to hold it at the right angle. So I can start to see that easily going bad over time. So it's possible that could be a failure point in the future. Lack of a battery when the battery backup isn't there. It's a nice feature to have a battery backup. If the power goes out, your programming is still in there. They mentioned in the instruction manual, battery should have been in the box. I didn't find it in the box. Anyways, I don't know how long that one battery would last. I do have to order some more just to use that function. Overall, pretty durable, sturdy quality in my opinion. So in terms of the savings, I think, yeah, it's worth it. You save a few bucks compared to some of the other brands you find on some of the other stores. Comes with a good enough length for cord. The controller isn't too far from the unit itself and the light panel itself. It's easy to kind of reach around, especially in a setup like I have like here. I can just hang it over the back there to keep it out of sight, but it's not that too hard for me just to reach around back and then adjust it as need be if it needs adjusting. It's got customizable programming, which is nice, so you can adjust the programming. You can have it ramp up and then ramp down, which is usually what I prefer in my lights. Some of the fish, sometimes if you've got that instant on light, it can startle them in the mornings. So I try to avoid that. That's why I prefer lights that have a ramp up and then a ramp down. So I've had the light here up and running for at least a couple of days now and haven't had any issues. It's running on schedule as projected. I did have to turn off the moonlight settings. There's a moonlight settings there if you want moonlight at night, or I should say simulated moonlight. So I don't really want that, don't really need it. I'd end up turning it off in the process of unplugging it from that other room over there and bringing it over here. Since there's no backup battery in there, it obviously reset the programming. It's not too hard to program. The only thing is the instructions aren't very clear. Instructions tell you to program it using the M button. What they don't tell you is you also have to use the set button in order to adjust the specific timings. The M button gets you into that mode that you need to change the programming times, and then you need to use the set button to select the hour and then the minutes, and then use the up and down keys to go from there. So just a minor complaint based on the instructions, but it's not too hard to figure out. Overall, I think it's a good light. We'll see how it lasts long term. As with my other light, it did start having issues. And then sure enough, after having been unplugged for about a month, when I plugged it back in, it actually started working. Whether it remains working or not, I don't know. I'll use that on another aquarium. I've got another tank that I'm getting ready to set up here soon. And I'll probably use that light on there for now, just to get that tank up and running. Even though it's a longer tank than what this light is meant for, it should get me enough light in there until I decide how I want to light that tank. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What are your go-to sources for getting great aquarium deals on your equipment? As we know, this hobby can get pretty expensive, so finding great sources for these great deals is always helpful. So in this case, I did use Temu, so it came out cheaper than some of the other stores that I've used. All in all, I think it worked out well. Again, as I mentioned, the test of time will tell the true tale. That's all I have for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.